I have a separate blog post explaining how to define your own custom text styles, but I wanted to show in this video how to create nested lists, just because it's a little bit trickier and it's a bit easier to understand when you can see it visually. So I have a custom text styles adaptable resource in here that I'm going to be working on. I'm going to go in to edit that, and what I want to do is define some new list styles. I basically want to have 3 levels of bulleted list indented within each other, and using a different bullet symbol for each of those, and have a different size text just so it's easier to see what's going on. So I'm going to create a new style. I'm going to call it's a list style that I want to create, and I'm going to call this one bulleted list level 1. I'm going to create that, and over in the style definition there's a few things to look at here. List type, this is basically what the bullets or numbers are going to be formatted as, and my choices for a bulleted list are disk, which is basically this corky dot that you can see here, or I can have it square, or I can have it as a circle, which is basically, like it says, it's a circle, or none. So I really have 3 different symbols that I can use. If I needed to have more than 3 levels of indentation, I'd have to start repeating them. But if you've got more than 3 levels of indentation on a single book page, you're doing something wrong. Okay, so I'm not going to change much in here apart from changing the font size to say something big like 26 point for my first level. Okay, so I'll create all of that in here. You can see it shows me what it's going to look like over on that side. Not going to change anything else in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to create my next 2 levels of bulleted list, at my list level 2, list level 3. So I'll select this one, click duplicate. I'm going to call this one bulleted list level 2. Okay. This one I'm going to use a square for, and you can see that's a square here. And I'm going to make this one a bit smaller, so I'm going to call this 23 point. Okay. And then I'm going to create my 3rd level. I'm just going to duplicate this one, level 3, and I'm going to use the circle for this, and I'm going to drop this to 20 point. Okay, so now you can see that I have my 3 levels defined: bulleted list level 1, level 2, level 3, and you can see they use a different bullet icon and they're a different font size. So far so good. Now we want to figure out how to do our indentation of these if we have them nested. Okay, so that's where it gets nice and easy. I select this first one, my bullet list level 1, and under style definition right at the bottom you can see a category called list level. This is where I specify what style to use if I indent a list level 1 list item. So if I'm currently at list level 1 and I indent it, what do I want it to be formatted at level 2? Here I'm going to say I want it to use my bulleted list level 2, and at level 3 I want it to use my bulleted list level 3. So you can see here in the little preview side on the left, this is what it's going to look like. Here's my level 1, here's my level 2 indented and using the square, and here's my level 3 below that with the circle. Now I'm not going to put any level of indentation here where it's got list indent. This is because this will already take the padding that we've got specified here for the line start. By default it has 40 pixels. We'll look at where it does that later, but all of these automatically inherit that 40 pixels. So if down at the bottom here I added more indentation here, it would put it on top of that 40 pixels and it would push it all the way over, which I don't want to do. So I'm going to leave this as it is at the moment. Save that, and let's go and look at how that looks in a book page. I've got a simple book page here, nothing in it apart from a text box. So let me enter some text into that and then we'll format it. Okay, I've just got a bunch of list items in there. If I want these as a bulleted list, I can just come along here and use this insert bulleted list icon. If I do that though, it basically still leaves them with the normal paragraph style, but it just applies the list to them. And that's not really what I want. What I want is it to use my bulleted list level 1, which I've defined. So I'll select that, and this is what I have now. This is 26 point, and it's using the disk in here. Now, the indentation. Say I want all of these ones to be level 2 items within this list. I just select them here and then go and click the indent button, and that pushes them in. You can see they're now 23 point and they're using the square. So this is now formatted using my list item 2 just because I indented it. And again, I can do the same for level 3. Select all of these, indent, and that's now using my level 3 indentation. And I'm using the disk one here. Now, quick tip, so that's all working fantastic. That's just what we want to happen. Quick tip, just like you can in PowerPoint, if I select a bunch of items here and I want to indent them, the keyboard shortcut for that is Control Tab. And within that, I can Control Tab again and it indents that. To reduce the indentation, I can do Control Shift Tab as a keyboard shortcut for that. So all of this works perfectly, however I want to do it. Using these buttons or using Control Tab or Control Shift Tab. All of that looks good. Let me push that one out a bit. So all this looks great. I've got my indented lists. They're very easy to format. Basically all I need to do is apply my formatting to the first list item when I type it in, and then just press enter, type the next text, do Control Tab to indent it, etc., and it's nice and easy to do. Okay, if you're thinking about that 40 point indent and how that works, looking at this text box starts at 50 pixels in. Okay, that's exactly where the edge of that is, and I've got a guide there to show that. Now if I insert another guide in here and drag that to about the start of that text, you can see that this is set up at 90 now. The text starts at 90 point in, and that is because I've got my 50 here plus the 40 indent for the list item gives me my 90. And if I put in another one, and as a quick tip, a guide you can still copy and paste just like any other object on a page. So Control C, Control V gives me another one exactly the same. Drag that to the start, and this is at 130, which is 90 plus 40 for the indentation of that. So that's where it's getting that indentation from. The other thing to note here, if I go back to this one, is that the text starts with the indentation of 40. And the bullet is within that. So it's basically outside the list item. Different applications work different ways. Some will actually start the list item from that level of indentation with the bullet and then indent the text a bit more from that. But SAP Enable now always puts the bullet on the outside of the list item. Just FYI. Okay, so that's all looking good. The only thing I don't like is it looks a bit cramped in here. So I'd like to put a bit of space after each list item. Okay, just put in another 10 point of space in there. So let's look at how to do that. I'm going to save this, close it down, come back to my text styles. Now, where you put that is for the list text. If I want space after an individual list item, it's the list text. Don't worry about the padding and the margin and stuff. We'll come back to that in a minute. List text is where I need to do it. So I want to put it in here. Now, I can just go and do that for all of these list items individually and basically do the same thing 3 times. But I'll show you another tip in here for ensuring consistency and stuff like that, and to make things a little bit easier on yourself. This here, this bulleted list level 1, is based on a style of DGO base. DGO base is actually this default style of base in here. That's my default paragraph style, which is 13 point. And you remember I changed it to be 26 point. Now, these other ones are also based on DGO base. But what I can do here for the bullet list level 2, I can say, well, really, I want it to be based on bullet list level 1. And bullet list level 3, I also want to be based on bullet list level 1. Now, what this means is if I make any changes to bullet list level 1, those changes will automatically be rippled down to the level 2 and the level 3. So with this level 1 selected, if I come to here and I say I want 10 point of space at the bottom of the list item, what that's going to do is my list level 2 now also has 10 point or 10 pixels of space in there. Even though this is not active and I'll not type that in, it's inherited it from the style it's based on. Same with the level 3 here. That's also inherited it. So let's save that. So really I only had to change it in one place. And you can set this based on when you create the styles. I just wanted to do it the other way first to show you how you can do that. So save that. I'm now going to go back into my book page. Now, obviously, one of the good things about text styles is once you change the text style, it will change all of the book pages that use that style. So be very careful about changing things mid-project or when you've got a whole bunch of stuff created, but it is great for ensuring consistency. So now all I need to do is go back into my book page. So it picks up those changes, and here you can see that it's now put that space in there. So far so good. That looks much better, and it's starting to look a little bit more like PowerPoint does. So the only thing I'll say here is that this list item level 3, I think there's a bit too much space in there, given that we're down to like the 3rd level here. And these are only 20 points, so having 10 points of space after them is a bit much. So what I want to do is I want to close all of these list items up. I want to remove this space between them, but still leave a little bit of extra space after the last one. So let's look at how to do that. I'm going to close that down, go back into my text styles, and I was looking at the level 3. So in level 3, again, the list text, it inherits this 10 pixels from the bulleted list level 1 that it's based on. And I'm just going to activate that property, and I'm going to change that to be 0. Okay, and that is going to remove the space after those line items. But remember, I said that I want a little bit of space at the end of the whole of that level 3 list, not the list items, but at the end of all of the items at the end of that list. So let's look at where we do that. Now you'll see there's actually 2 properties in here, padding and margin, both of which look like they could do what we want to do in that they have got a bottom on here, and this is for the whole list. I can put space at the bottom or the right hand side, the left hand side where we've already got that indentation, or at the top, basically above it. And it's the bottom one I want. Why has it got 2 in here? I don't know. I think it's a bug, and I expect SAP to fix it at some stage. You see here, they're basically exactly the same, line start, top, line end, bottom, apart from padding has this extra property here, which is actually a default for all of these. If you want to set all of these at once, all of these 4, I can set it at this level. However, what's curious is if I go to paragraph styles and select one of those, this only has a margin. It does not have padding, but the margin has that global one that I can set all 4 of them alike. So hugely inconsistent. I don't know why. The only thing I would say is do not specify both of them, because it will apply them twice. So if I add, say, 10 point of space to the bottom under padding and 10 point of space under margin, I'm going to end up with 20 point of space after the list. So the way I'm going to do this is, because the heading has margin, I'm going to be consistent, and I'm going to use the margin ones here just in case SAP do fix this and say, oh yeah, padding shouldn't be there, and just delete it. I don't want to lose anything. So for consistency, I'm going to use margin. Now, here's where I want to put my 10 points. So I'm going to put my 10 points of space in here, or 10 pixels, sorry. And let's go and see how that looks. Again, the margin applies to the list as a whole, not the list items, which is the list text. So I'm going to save that, close, go back into my book page, and now, as if by magic, all of my list items are closed up at the level 3 because I've removed the space here, and I've got a little bit of extra space in here where I added it to the end of the list itself. And that's it. That is all I wanted to show you here. Hope you found that useful. Thanks for watching.